Alright, you fucking beginners. You saw yesterday's video, right? Right? What's going on with you guys? TheCaliEffect, king of games here. And whether you're a beginner or not, I think that this information would be extremely important to you. There have been some pretty significant changes inside of the format. I think it's really important to actually go over some important cards that will win you games. That's right, guys, whether you are a beginner or you are an experienced player, it doesn't hurt you to know about the cards that are extremely important inside of this format, cards that you should strongly consider playing inside of your deck because they're just that damn powerful. So of course, if you want to see more content like this, then be sure to destroy that subscribe button, but also be sure to hit that notification bell because, well, we just too strong. I also wanted to point out that if you guys want to talk more about Yu-Gi-Oh!, then I just so happen to have a Discord community that you should join. But without further ado, let's start talking about these powerful Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards that will win you games. Now, the first one of our generic game-changing Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards is actually a card that I told you not to play some ages ago. Back then, Apollousa, Bow of the Goddess, wasn't really powerful, but now it's essentially an FTK. What Apollousa, Bow of the Goddess does is anytime an opponent's monster effect activates, you can decrease this card's attack by 800, and if you do, you get to negate the activation of that monster. The reason why this card is extremely popular in this format as opposed to the format that I said before is that monster effects are extremely important, and summoning a big monster to get over Apollousa isn't always possible. Let's take, for example, a strategy like Drytron. This particular strategy tends to struggle against our Bow, mainly because it doesn't have a natural out to Apollousa, which tends to get ran over at 1600 attack points. Against Drytron, you can get this card all the way to 0, as the Drytron cards can only summon themselves in defense, and their Herald monster isn't strong enough to get over the lowest point of Apollousa. This card is also pretty good against other strategies like Prank Kids and Tri-Brigade, mainly because those decks are so monster dependent. Apollousa can easily out some of their most critical monsters and give you a pretty good body on the side of the field. The reason why you should strongly consider playing this card is not only because of its monster effect and negation capabilities, but because it's so easy to summon. Apollousa requires up to 4 monsters with different names, and that's it. Not only is the Goddess card one of the top waifus in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game, it's actually an astounding card against some of the best meta decks this format, which is a strong reason why you should consider playing it. One thing I would like to point out about this format is that a lot of strategies are either back row dependent or front row dependent, but don't have the negations to protect said back row. With that being said, cards like Lightning Storm are extremely important inside of this format, essentially because this card is a Raigeki or a Harpy's Feather Duster depending on the particular situation. If you just so happen to be going against some of the top decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like Tri-Brigade, which just so happens to set up some really stouty monsters, even the Apollousa that I mentioned before, or have to rely on its back row like Tri-Brigade Revolt, a well-timed Lightning Storm can not only disrupt their tempo, but can be a critical piece between you winning or losing the game. Now, Lightning Storm did just get its reprint inside of King's Court, but it's very understandable if you guys still can't afford it, or if you're a budget player still trying to figure out if you want to play the game. Cards like Harpy's Feather Duster and Raigeki could do the job, but don't necessarily have the versatility of Lightning Storm. Those cards do have the upside of being able to be activated whenever you want to though, where Lightning Storm says you can't control any face-up cards. Now, with that being said, decks tend to rely heavily on their spell cards. There's a really good deck in Sky Striker, which is strictly all spell cards. Imagine being able to have a card like Imperial Order against them. Now, one thing I want to clarify with you guys is that Imperial Order has changed its card text, just in case you're a Yu-Gi boomer like yours truly and are getting back into the game. What Imperial Order does is that you must pay 700 life points during each standby phase. Before, back in my day, there used to be an option to pay for Imperial Order. That is no longer true. But the benefit of this card is that you actually get to stop spell-heavy decks. Imagine if your opponent wants to Lightning Storm you or even activate Forbidden Droplet, you can respond with a card like Imperial Order if they didn't send a trap through Droplet, negate the card, and possibly keep the game in your favor. Now, I know Imperial Order is a one-of, so another card to mention would be Anti-Spell Fragrance. If you guys want your opponent not to be able to take advantage of those really powerful spell cards, then Anti-Spell Fragrance almost does what Imperial Order does, as it forces your opponent to set that spell card first, meaning that they can't use that spell card that turn. Imperial Order is one of the most devastating cards in the card game. I'm actually extremely surprised that it's fairly balanced at 1. Now, earlier in this video, I did say monster effect negation was really important, and that's why cards like Apollousa, Bow of the Goddess are extremely good. But there are some other effect negation cards like Infinite Impermanence and Effect Veiler that are extremely good. The problem with this is that none of these mentioned effect monster negators destroy the card. A card that actually solves the problem is probably one of the best, if not the best, trap card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is Solemn Strike. Now, for you older Yu-Gi-Oh! Players, Solemn Strike is like Solemn Judgment in Solemn Warning, except more drugs. This card can negate monster effects, you know, the effects that I said were so important, but it also can negate contact fusions, link summons, exceed summons, synchro summons, and of course special summons that do not start a chain, but if they did activate, it's a monster effect, so it could negate those too. Now, there are 2 reasons why Solemn Strike is just a cut above the other monster effect negation cards. The first thing is that Solemn Strike actually negates and destroys the particular monster that it's trying to stop. The second is that Solemn Strike is a counter trap card. Now, for you new players, you might not exactly know what a counter trap card is, but to sum it up very shortly, the only thing that can respond to Solemn Strike is another counter trap card, and that's something that the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game doesn't have a lot of great ones. Solemn Strike is easily still one of the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards that can outright just win the game by stopping an opponent's important card. Now, losing the trap cards just might not be for you, and there are a ton of spell cards that can destroy spell and trap cards on the field, but which one is the best right now? A card named Cosmic Cyclone feels like a retrain of Mystical Space Typhoon, but it actually can banish the card that it's targeting, which is huge. Certain spell and trap cards have effects in the graveyard. The only problem with Cosmic Cyclone is that it only destroys one card, and that it could be countered by a very popular card in Artifact Lancia. Incoming a card that made his debut in the Breakers of Shadows, and Twin Twisters. Now, Twin Twisters is an amazing Yu-Gi-Oh! Card, especially in a format where we have a kind of back row decks and kind of not. Because Twin Twisters is a happy median between Harpy's Feather Duster, destroying multiple cards, and Mystical Space Typhoon, being able to be a quick play interactable card. The only thing that it costs is 1 card out of your hand. Twin Twisters can preemptively hit those cards face down before your opponent can use them, and it also can respond to cards like Imperial Order and Anti-Spell Fragrance, cards that I mentioned before they can resolve, allowing you to destroy them. Out of all these spell and trap destroyer cards, Twin Twisters is easily at the top of the list just because of its versatility and its wide range of destruction. Post-editing Cali here, and yeah, it looks like I don't wear a TheCaliEffect shirt all of the time, but one thing I do want to tell you is that the rest of this video did get corrupted, so here we are again. Since I wasn't able to access that particular video, I guess we get to talk about Accesscode Talker. You see, I still got the puns whether I'm pre-editing or post-editing. Accesscode Talker is a Link 4 monster that has been dominating the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game. The only fortunate or unfortunate thing about this particular monster is that it's pretty much expected to be reprinted in the 2021 Megatons, as stated in my Sell These Cards Before They Plummet in Price video. Go ahead and check that out if you want to know more. Regardless, Accesscode Talker's summon and activations cannot be tampered with, and it can destroy monsters on your opponent's side of the field as long as you're banishing monsters with different attributes. This card also can become as strong as the monster used for its Link summon. He's typically summoned at 46 or 5600 attack. He is a complete game ender. Now, an alternative for players that necessarily can't afford Accesscode Talker or are just waiting into the Megatons, Boral Sword Dragon doesn't do exactly what Accesscode Talker does, but it definitely is a lot cheaper. Accesscode Talker is easily one of the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards in the game because not only is it hard to get rid of, it's a really strong monster that can end games fairly quick. And if you ask me, that's the language that I'm talkering about when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! Fast games, get it? And the last card I want to talk to you guys about is the only hand trap to be included into this list. Granted, hand traps have been running rampant inside of this Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game, but only one makes this list for a particular reason. Infinite Impermanence is hands down the best hand trap in Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's for good reason. The first thing I want to point out is that Infinite Impermanence is actually a hand trap. It's a trap card and it activates from your hand. It's the literal definition. Not only can Infinite Impermanence negate a monster on the field, if it was activated from your side of the field from face down, it can negate all spell and trap cards activated in that particular column. But the genuine best thing about Infinite Impermanence is that it is a stronger effect veiler, being able to be used in any phase so long as you control no cards on your side of the field. Infinite Impermanence can stop some of the most powerful monsters in the Yu-Gi-Oh card game like Apollousa, Bow of the Goddess, like we stated before, reduces attack to 0, and can't be responded to with cards like Call by the Grave, and won't trigger cards like Triple Tactics Talent. We already said that effect monster negation is king, and while Solemn Strike does sit at the top when it comes to effect monster negation, Infinite Impermanence is hands down the best hand trap right now. Well, that is all that I have for the best cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards that you should strongly consider playing because they'll win you games. Of course, if you guys are a new player, make sure to go ahead and destroy that subscribe button. And if you guys are amazing, then you probably should be checking out these videos as they are too strong as well. As always, I hope you guys are having an amazing day. And of course, I'll catch you on the next video.